What's up, folks? Welcome back. We are getting wacky today on Wednesday. Little bit of a surprise drop. It's not that surprising. We knew it was coming, but just not when, I guess. And it has happened. I woke up today bright and early to a bunch of new Space Marine shit. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. We have the updated rules for Darnath Lysander, in addition to Aethon Shaan, the new chapter master for the Raven Guard and their respective special detachments. So, we'll get to hop in. Now, these are a little weird because they try their hardest to side grade existent mechanics. So essentially what they're trying to do very hard with these new rules is to ensure that they don't totally supersede existing rules. Basically like we saw with the Salamanders drop, right? So the Salamanders had their Firestorm Assault Force variety, which is like slightly different than Firestorm Assault Force. It's like maybe better, but it's mostly a side grade. And that's essentially what they did here. But in this case, they were also doing it while building around existing characters. So the result is super weird. And I don't know if I like it, but here we are. Let's see. Let's dive in. We'll talk about the characters first. Easiest one is Lysander. Ooh, boy, my viewer is all fucking over the place right now. Let's fix that. Oop, we'll go over here for you, Mr. Lysander. Now I believe that Lysander is largely the same than he was. He comes in, he's sort of baseline Terminator profile, 7 wounds, which is cool. So he did go up a wound from his previous incarnation. He also got an improved. His melee attack's still great. Strength 10, AP 3 damage. What a Chad. His leadership ability has been improved to no longer be a leadership ability. So previously, he gives you transhuman effect if he is leading a unit. However, no one ever took Lysander to lead fucking Terminators because Terminators are worthless trash. So everyone took Lysander just as a little man who would deep strike in their opponent's deployment zone, activate a 2+ vulnerable save, survive for a round, and then charge something. And your opponent would go, well, this guy's annoying. I don't like him. Please go away, Darnath Lysander. And so with that in mind, they changed his ability to just say this model's unit, not while this model is leading a unit, which means it always works on him, even if he's all by himself, which is a dramatic improvement. So huge buff to old Darnath Lysander over here. Plus, you're playing Imperial Fist, you get Torgaradon as well. Now, the way that this has worked on top of this is that his Inspiring Commander ability that all of the Space Marine special captains get, where they buff a particular unit type, is part of the balanced data slate, but has not been updated. I don't believe. I guess it's probably worth looking at. But we looked it up when the Salamanders came out, and it did not look like Vulcan's Infernus Marine thing went away. We can see that that's still there. And the same is true for Lysander, I believe. Unless it's not, and then I'll eat crow on that. Nope, Darnath Lysander, there he goes. You get OC2 on your Terminators while they're not battle shocked. What a time to be alive. So those still remain. That's still retroactively applied to this data sheet. So he still does all the things that he did previously. He's harder to kill now, significantly harder to kill. He's oftentimes -1 to be wounded and has 7 wounds. So that seems pretty cool. I was already a Lysander fan. I think I'm even more so now. He's a little expensive. He's 100 points. But honestly, the stuff you get for him for 100 is pretty good. So even if you're not running Terminators, I would unironically not recommend you run Terminators, generally speaking. But yeah, Lysander's pretty solid as a lone character. Now, in addition to that, we also got the new Raven Guard chapter master Aethon Shaan. And this one I was kind of excited for because I think, in my opinion, Raven Guard are probably one of the closest chapters to being hyper competitively viable. And so I was like, well, if we see that there is a character who releases who can synergize very well with Caven, um, then I think we're in a pretty good spot. And he's okay. um, so let's talk about Aethon Shaan. Now, here's the first thing to notice about him. He is a carbon copy of Caven Shrike, which I was like, oh, well, that's weird. I guess he's faster movement. He's moved 14 instead of 12, but he has the same top line profile. He has almost exactly the same melee weapons, except his are sustained hits too. So they're slightly better, but the actual attack profile is identical. He has a worse gun, I guess. And they're both lone operative. Except when you have Aethon Shaan, for whatever reason, I don't understand this. And I think it might have been that they just identified, and they're like, if we give Raven Guard a million lone operative characters, it's probably going to make them play in a way we don't want them to. Which, honestly, let Raven Guard have their thing, but it is what it is. If you take Aethon Shaan, Caven Strike loses lone operative. He will still get it back when he joins a unit, but as soon as his unit is dead, he loses it forever. It's gone. Which is bizarre. And again, like I said at the top, a lot of these are side grades. They did a lot of work to make sure that they were not improving the Space Marine faction that much. They were only side grading it, which is super duper weird. So anyway, that's bizarre. But it is what it is. Now, he is also, I believe, not a leader. Yeah, he's just a man. He just vibes. So him having lone operative is very important. Obviously, Caven can find ways to get value without lone operative, but Aethon here is he's just chilling by himself. However, his special ability, in your command phase, you select a unit from your opponent's army, a little second Oath of Moment. Till the start of your next command phase, each time an adept to start his unit declares a charge while it was in 12 inches of that enemy unit, which is a little bit weird. It's weird wording, I guess. I guess it's while it's within 12 inches of that enemy unit, it must declare them as a charge target if possible, and it can reroll the charge. So yeah, catch 22 here on his special ability. He basically Oaths of Moment a unit for charge rolls, which is really cool. However, he requires that everyone charge that unit. Which can create some really bizarre situations. Like if I want to declare a unit in the middle of my opponent's formation with this, suddenly I start to fail. Once I've wrapped that unit, right? I've based everywhere. I've gotten to all possible engagement ranges. It's still an eligible charge target for everyone else within 12. So they must declare it. However, it may be impossible for that charge to succeed. So the requirement that you reroll the requirement that you charge the unit that you selected with this ability is a huge downside. It's enormous. And I think in a lot of ways it's going to mess people up. You're like suddenly like, all right, I'm going to give myself charge rerolls against this unit. Now every other unit in my army needs to dual charge. And if I want to do like random shit, like I have a vehicle that happens to be 11.9 inches away from that unit and it wants to tank shock something else, it can't because it must declare the unit that the Aethon Shaan pointed at with his ability. His ability is like actually really bad. Reroll charges against a target unit is phenomenal. I don't know why there's a requirement that you must charge the unit that you selected. It's also non-optional. It doesn't say you can select one unit or select up to one unit from your opponent's army. It says select one, which means that this effect must be active at all times as long as Aethon Shaan is on the table and you've had a command phase, which is a nightmare. So like, let's say your opponent has, I don't know, they have two models that are 12 inches away from each other. Alex is knocking stuff down on my backdrop right now. Can you not, Cat? Really? You like that? They have two models like 18 inches apart, and your models are in the middle, and it's towards the late game. You have to select one of them, and then anything in your army that's like in equidistant between them that declares a charge must declare one of them as the charge target. So it just pulls your whole army one direction. There's like gonna be so many bizarre situations where this actually just fucks you. So I don't know, Aethon Shaan. I'm not sure that I am. I approve this ability. Does this break heroic intervention? No, because heroic intervention can only declare the triggering unit as the charge target. So you must declare the unit he selects if possible. So when you are going to heroically intervene, you cannot select any other units as your target, which means this doesn't trigger. That's why the if possible clause is important. Aethon is what the Grey Knight Chaplain should have been. Maybe. I could see it. It doesn't say you can't multi-charge. Correct. So you can charge his target and also something else. But the thing that he targeted with his ability must be one of the targets of the charge. That is a requirement. So I don't know why this works this way. I don't. The requirement that you are within 12 inches of the unit he selects, it should just be that you gain reroll charges if his Master of Shadows target is one of the targets of your charge. That's all it needs to be. I don't know why it has all these other riders. While you're within 12 inches, well, I can't not declare my things that are... I can't declare things that are outside 12 inches. So the 12-inch requirement's not necessary. And it's not that they wanted you to stop using it on a multi-charge, because it allows you to use it on a multi-charge. It doesn't say you can only select that target as the charge. You just must declare that as a target. It even says a target, one of the targets. So, like, it's the most baffling wording I've ever seen. It's bizarre. And I think a lot of people are just going to get, they're going to play this and be like, oh, sick, real charges, let's go. And then immediately lose the game. Because they're going to be like, all right, I'm going to select your frontline unit, and I'm going to use that to charge all my jump pack intercessors that are OC2 because I have Caven out of reserve. It's going to be sick. Then I'm going to get this other unit in the center into your Vindicator. And then you're like, well, you can't target that, so get fucked. Or you can, but you also must target the unit that you're rerolling all your deep strike charges into. And so the second unit that wants to go somewhere else just stands there and looks like an idiot. I don't know, Chant. I don't understand. Copy pasted strike data sheet with worse abilities. That's what I was waiting for a month. Yeah, I know. Womp. A Blackwing Mantle, he gets Heroic Intervention and Rapid Ingress for free. He does not fight first, however. Fight first would actually be kind of sick on this data sheet. Even if you already use the strategy in a different phase, that's great. This ability as well works while he's off the battlefield, which is a catch-22, I guess. You win some, you lose some. It means you are required to use it even if he's not there, but you can start him in reserve and then Rapid Ingress in places. And then sustained hits too, Twin Linked. Like, he should get 8-ish hits off of a swing. At strength 5 APT Twin Linked. So, like, he's good into like 5 Marine bodies. He'll just kill them. So, as a little disruption piece, he's actually great. It's just this ability that's super duper fucky. Reroll charges should have been a White Scar's thing. Yeah, they love doing it with Raven Guard though, because Raven Guard are the Deep Strike faction, and Deep Strike is always 9 inches away from people, generally speaking. And so the only way to get that reliably is to give them charge rerolls. And so they always get reroll charges somehow, some way. They had like a reroll charge. I think this was a stratagem in 9th edition. It was like, target a unit from your opponent's army and you get charge rerolls for all your jump infantry, I guess, or whatever. So it's basically coming back. This was always in the Raven Guard color pie. Mostly because they're just trying to bang 9-inch charges a lot of times. So it is what it is. It says you can't reroll a charge. In that case, if you choose not to reroll, you can charge whatever. I don't. That's not how that works. I would I would consider that interpretation angle shooting to the obtuse degree. Um, it doesn't say you can reroll the charge, but if you do so, you must declare the enemy target as the target of the charge. There's nothing to imply that the charge reroll, that the second part of the ability is optional and tied to the charge reroll. Right? I think it would make sense to say you can reroll the charge if the target of the charge is you can reroll the charge if the Master Shadow selected unit is a target of the charge, but it doesn't say that. It says that the unit must be the target of the charge. It would be super bizarre to word it that way and have that be the interpretation. It's also the timing's also funky because it's not like you declare the charge target first. So you go to select a unit. That's when the ability triggers. You select a unit, check you're within 12 inches of the Master of Shadows target. The ability triggers, so you lock in that must be one of your charge targets. So then you go to select targets, and they just have to be one of them. As long as you're within 12 and they're the target of this ability. You can't be like, I'll charge and reroll and then select targets, which then must be one of the things that he selected. That timing doesn't work. The target selection happens before you get to the roll step of the charge sequence. Yeah. So anyway, I sort of hope this is like a mistake. To be perfectly honest, chat. It would be endlessly annoying to me to have this due to the massive downside. In fairness, in about 70% of game states, this isn't going to matter because you're only charging with units that you want to anyway. It's when things get really tight, right? When the game gets down to it and the armies are like, this is a good ability to alpha strike with. And if it was optional, I think it would be great.
Ryan G donated $5 through Super Chat. If only even Shaan had lips on his helmet, then he could emote. But alas, we can't understand him because he's wearing a helmet.
It's true, chat. It's true. If you can't see a guy's face, it is impossible to know what he's thinking. That's so true. That's why The Mandalorian's a bad show. For the 7 people in chat who understand that reference, Ryan G, thank you for the super chat. We had a long discussion on Twitch about the Halo television show, and how stupid it is that they basically said characters are it's entirely unrelatable if they have a helmet on. Okay, whatever you say, man. That's why the dozens of pieces of media with a character with a masked face that you still relate to don't exist. Whatever. But yeah, so if this was optional, I think it would be great because early game, right? You could hit the thing you're going to charge 1 or 2 units into, and you're like, all right, sick, charge reels for free. But it's when you're round 4, round 5, and everyone's just everywhere. And suddenly you're like, I have to basically not use the ability. You have to start selecting units that are let's say I got 3 dudes and enemies are on my home objective. I would love to get charge reels against the enemies on my home objective to make sure my assault intercessors get in easily. However, if I do that, my dudes at the center of the table who are slightly past those guys will have to charge backwards. So instead, I have to select the navigator on my opponent's home objective as the target of his ability, so it doesn't fuck all my charges. And heaven forbid that we're in an even denser game state, and some of my one of the charge targets is going to get fucked by selecting this ability. I don't know. It's it feels like a lot of times you're trying to find ways not to use it so it doesn't mess you up. I do not like this ability whatsoever. I like the data sheet otherwise. I do not like this ability. I think it's mid at best and at worst loses you the game. So let's go. You can select an enemy unit in reserve. That's true. Yeah, that's fair. Um. Why does he nerf Shrike? Yeah, I don't know, Chad. Why have this character who makes your army slightly worse? I hope he's cheap as fuck. I hope he's like 60 points. As he just like makes your army not as good. All right, should we talk about detachments, chat? Compared to Lysander, who just straight up got buffs. Yeah, this guy's weird. Makes the rest of your army worse. We've been talking about Raven Guard. Let's talk about Raven Guard for a sec. Let's go. So Shadowmark Talon is it's an updated version of Vanguard Spearhead, which, you know, is fine, I guess. It gives you the Vanguard Spearhead ability. You get smoke basically while you're 12 inches away from enemies. Although it's not stealth. Did Vanguard Spearhead ever give you stealth, or was it just minus with a hit? Because it stacks with stealth apparently. Now that I'm looking at it. Yeah, it was minus with a hit. Yeah, okay, cool. It's effectively smoke, but if your opponent has +1, you can smoke screen. You get -2. I actually I did not know it worked that way. I just assumed to give you stealth. It's so funny. If Aethon Shaan is your army, you can use Into the Darkness for 0 CP. Which is the uppy downy strat.
Ryan G donated $5 through Super Chat. Also, not to bring up more obscure discussions, but Paramount acquired the rights to a Call of Duty movie. Can't wait to see Ghost take his mask off.
A Call of Duty movie. Just watch the cutscenes. Why do we need to make it a movie? Call of Duty is already a movie. It's basically a game with no gameplay. Hey, Damned Legion. Thank you for the channel membership as well. Cheers, everybody. Thank you for the super chats and the memberships. Yeah, who asked for a Call of Duty movie? Literally, if you search Call of Duty movie on YouTube, there's just a bunch of super cuts of every single cutscene in the game series. You can just watch that. It's basically the same. That's so stupid. Okay. Maybe if they did like Infinite Warfare. What if, all right, hear me out, chat. What if it's a high concept sci-fi film? A political drama sci-fi film, a la The Expanse. What if that? Could you imagine? Just absolutely flips the entire genre on its head. That would be amazing. All right. So, yes, we are Raven Guard stuff. We get, if you have Aethon Shaan, you get to use Into Darkness for free. So you get to be a Star Trek guy, and you get to Star Trek Into Darkness up to 2 Phobos, Scout, or Adeptus, or 1 Adeptus Astartes infantry into Strategic Reserve for free every turn. This also stacks with Caven. So Shrike can already bring his unit into reserve as well. So he has Echo of the Ravenspire. End of your opponent's turn, you can put his unit into strategic reserve. So you can get up to 3 units in strat reserve. I actually love that you can target scout squads with this. Like, why? They just have this ability. Why is this? Why is it a strat? That's so weird. But anyway, not including units that do it naturally. So Calidus Assassins and Scout Squads, for example. You could put up to 3 things in reserve every turn. And that's pretty cool. For free. That's 0. That costs you 0. So I don't know. That's neat. So Blackwing Shout is just the Blade Driven Deep. Coronal Susurrant is the Shadow War Veteran is the CP tax aura. Umbral Raptor is Ghostweave Cloak. And Hunter's Instincts replaces Execute and Redeploy, which is a Phobos model only enhancement that gives you a shoot and scoot, which is good. An unironically good strat or enhancement. However, this one's probably better. It gives you strat reserve earlier than normal. I don't know what you use it on, but you could. It allows you to rapid ingress. I believe it allows you to rapid ingress. It's the same. It's literally just Hunter's Instincts copy pasted from yeah, the bird says setting a unit up on the battlefield, treat the current battle round as one higher than it actually is. So it's literally Hunter's Instincts for Stormline Task Force. They took exactly every part of the enhancement and copy and pasted it over. So you can rapid ingress top of 1, which is sick. I don't know what you do with that, but I'm sure there's going to be some spice. I'm sure there's some spice. You could do it. You could deep strike like a unit of goobers. Could you imagine if this was an ultra detachment? We get Uriel Ventress and we could deep strike like random Gravis dudes. That'd be crazy. But we could deep strike like jump pack assault intercessors top 1. We could ingress in like bikers. We could play a little Stormline Task Force action. I don't know. There's a bunch of interesting stuff we could do. I'm sure that someone will dive in and play and find the most stupid thing to do with this. Let's play a fun game. Which one of the detachments lets you have 2 giant Terminator bricks in your opponent's DZ round 1? Yeah, but then your opponent has spent 700 points on Terminator, so you win anyway. Oh no, not the assault Terminators yet. No, anything but that. Anything but several Terminators. Oh, anything. Oh, say it ain't so. No. If the Terminators come closer to you, you just get to kill them quicker. These are Deathwing Knights. These are not. If this Raven Guard had a crazy strong Terminator unit, that would be cool. They don't even have Lysander. They don't even have the cool Terminator character we just talked about. They're just regular fucking Terminators. So I don't know. I don't think it's that interesting. Use it with Vanguard veterans to get an early objective. The thing to keep in mind is that it's an enhancement, not a stratagem. So you do need to have a character with them. So if you have a jump captain, you could get an objective early, which I actually really like. Worst case scenario, your unit just hides in reserve and it is a little more expensive. Best case scenario, you draw something stupid like recover assets turn 1, and you just get to do it with your unit, your guys for free, or engaged all fronts or something. And you get it for free with your little unit, and then you run out and fight with them next turn, which I think is neat. I don't know. I think that's pretty cool. I guess the other thing is like this is sort of overshadowed by the drop pods. The new drop pods can come in turn 1 too, right? The drop pod assault. Yeah, set up in the reinforcement step of your first movement phase, regardless of mission rolls. So, like, this is a little overshadowed by drop pods because a lot of the weird things you can do with this, you can just do with drop pods anyway. I guess you can't rapid ingress with the drop pod, but if you're rapid ingressing a non-deep strike unit, then you come off the table edge, so it's not that great. So, like, I guess you could ingress the Terminators and then like come attack with them. But again, I don't know. I don't know. It's Terminators, whatever. So anyway, they didn't even give it a different name in the Stormless version. Yeah, I know. I actually kind of like that. It does annoy me a little bit when they have duplicate abilities with different names, or because they're like, I don't know, they want to be special. Stratagems. All of the stratagems are the same. Stunning Fusillade, I think, has been renamed because it used to be Strike from the Shadows. Now it's a different thing. Angron with the Advanced Tactics membership. Thank you, man. I will probably be building some lists with these detachments, or at least this one, the Imperial Fist one. We'll talk about in a sec. But it's classic Imperial Fist stuff. But I will almost certainly be building a list with this detachment, and we'll see how we feel about it. I don't know. Maybe the Terminator way is the best. I almost wonder if it's worth doing like a chaplain, like a big chaplain unit or something. But whatever. Either way. So Strike from the Shadow has been renamed to Stunning Fusillade as long as you're 12 inches away from your opponent. You can improve your ballistic skill and armor penetration characteristics by 1. Into Darkness, we already talked about. That is retained. So we still get to do Centurion shit where we can uppy downy 6 Centurions, bring them off the table edge, that give them +1 to hit and +1 AP, and then force your opponent to take a battle shock check. So that unit is still there and will almost certainly be in all these lists, especially because with Shaan, you get it for free. So you get to do half of the combo for 0 CP, which was a problem previously because it cost you 2 CP all the time. And you basically needed Gilliman to like fuel it on turn 1, but Shaan just lets you do it now for 0. Which is it? It doesn't require he's on a battlefield, right? Where you at, Aethon Shaan? Oh, sorry. It's a detachment ability. If he's on the battlefield, so you have to start him. Oh, shit. So you have to start him on the battlefield to use it turn 1. I guess you don't want to use it turn 1 on non-deep strikers, so it shouldn't matter actually that much. Or you just use it on him. That's so funny because his other ability is free rapid ingress. So he doesn't get it if he's trying to uppy downy his guys. Oh, that's insane anti-synergy, actually. That's so funny. The shot is so stupid. What a dumb character. Okay. The other thing that they did is they replaced the anti-charge strat. So there's the strat to, what was it called? It was called Calculated Feint. You can move D6 inches in response to a charge. That's gone in exchange for Raptorial Vigilance, which is just a regular reactive move. It's almost exactly squad tactics. But if you're Phobos or Scout, you get a 6-inch move instead of a D6. So, which I think is probably a side grade. It's harder for your opponent to play around because they can't come within 9 inches of you without triggering it. But it isn't locked in when they charge you. However, it also lets you do things like mess with objectives or shooting lines or whatever. So, the move in response to charging strat was really good, but I understand why they would probably want to limit how often that gets used. In hindsight, I actually think that their sticky went away. Let me see. So Strike from the Shadows was renamed. Calculated Feint was reworked. Yeah, Deadly Prize is actually gone. So it used to be that you could sabotage objectives for a command point at the start of either player's command phase that would then do damage to people who moved onto it. That has been replaced by Feint and Thrust, which is fall back, shoot, and charge. Phobos or Scout squads can advance, shoot, and charge. I actually think that this makes like Reaver squads potentially really good. Advance and charge on those units is actually kind of sick. Just out of the blue on a scouting unit that can run around, or like in cursors, just like being annoying. Also incentivizes you to take melee scouts and lets your melee scouts like do things top of 1, which is kind of neat. So I would prefer to have Deadly Prize, but this is fine. Plus, you also just get army-wide fallback, shoot, and charge for command point anywhere you want. So your late game Vindicators or whatever are going to be, which you almost certainly have because they're really good in this detachment. Can just fall back and shoot, which is amazing. So, yeah, definitely not upset about that, but Deadly Prize is really good. So, it is what it is. So, that is the Raven Guard detachment chant. Do these replace the current detachments? They do not. They are in addition. So, you can just take regular old Vanguard Spearhead if you want. However, you lose this ability. So this one you can only play in Raven Guard, and it has this enhanced effect when you play it in Raven Guard. However, the abilities are slightly different, and the same goes with the new Firestorm one from Salamanders. One sec, chat. I just sneezed. Sorry. It's like probably a side grade from the original, so it's a decision you make when you build your list. You don't just automatically windmill slam the special detachment for each chapter. Layla Tarrance is 1 CP cheaper. Oh, is it really? because they had, what was it, surgical strike? Oh yeah, it's true. Because they realized that infantry only for melee precision is actually a dog shit ability. They're like, okay, I suppose I will pay 2 CP to maybe kill a character if my opponent lets me, and it's a Tuesday. There's going to be some instances in which that's really good, but it's going to be very few and far between. Especially because you can put it on like devastating one guys, and then they can punch through. I'm actually like, I'm talking myself into this Terminator build right now. I was like, wait a minute. 1 CV, infantry precision. If we just roll a bunch of devastating, we get to put it with our thunder hammers. We get to put it all in the infantry on the precision unit. Let's go. But your opponent will simply not allow you to do so. Layla of the Tyrants is copied from Lines of the Emperor. Oh shit, is it? Is it? No. Theirs is called Peerless Warrior, and is a different targeting restriction. You can use that one on Dreadnoughts. It's pretty cool. Heyo.
Ryan G donated $2 through Super Chat. Why pay 2 CP when you can just bring Balliol?
Why even? Why even pay 2 CP when I can bring my what is it, like range only critical wound precision? His is like so much worse, right? Why pay 2 CP? I hope, I don't know. I hope they do it. Critical hit only for precision, not critical wound. We couldn't have ensured that we get devastating. Critical hits only. What a dog shit leadership ability. God damn it. Okay, Chant. What would precision for melee give you? It lets you assign your damage to characters. If you could see them. So your opponent will just put their characters behind buildings and stuff, but if they don't, because you have to charge, then you could just run in and bop the character on the head with a Thunderhammer. Call it a day. Boop. And it's on any infantry unit, so it's not just restricted to characters like Epic Challenges. So as much as I have made fun of Aethon Shaan, I do think you still take him in this attachment because of the 0 CP up down, right? The upside for him is so much. Because he gives you're going to use that strat at least 4 rounds out of the game. So he just gives you 4 CP for free. He's a lone operative duder who can wander around. You have to play around his stupid ability, but in like in the early turns when you're only charging 1 or 2 things in, it's good, right? It just gives you free rerolls. So like realistically, he's a lone operative dude with a good melee attack who gives you like 6 command points. Because you get all your uppy downies for free, and you get a couple charge rerolls for free. So like, that's fine, right? As I will rag on how poorly worded this ability is and how it's gonna like randomly fuck you sometimes, but you can play around that, right? You have total control over how this works. So worst case scenario, you just choose something you're not going to charge in that doesn't matter. It sucks to pay what is probably going to be like 110 points for an ability that doesn't do anything, but at least he's giving you command points elsewhere. So I think this is pretty cool. I don't know. Free up downs is sick, in my opinion. Plus, we get advanced charge Phobos squads. That's kind of cool. Do Invictors have a Phobos keyword? That'd be sweet. I doubt they do, but maybe. Holy shit, they do, chat. Oh boy. So we can advance, shoot, and charge Invictor tactical warsuits. Is that good? Are we back on the Invictor? Our old school 8th edition Invictor shit? Maybe. Maybe we are. That's kind of sick. Honestly, I didn't even think about that. That's pretty cool. Okay. What else has Phobos keyword? It sucks that you can't do the shoot and scoot Phobos Lieutenant thing anymore. The shoot, scoot, and charge. That would have been really sick. You would have seen, I think you would have seen, unironically, multiple Phobos Lieutenants in this detachment. If you could just full advanced shoot and charge them, shoot and scoot, and then charge, it would go so far. But you can't do that, so that sucks. And Victors and Reavers. I know, the scout is real. Maybe you do just play the full, the big Alpha Strike list, where you infiltrate 10 Terminators and then you turn one Deep Strike 10 Terminators. But like, also the rest of your army is in Victor Tactical Warsuit, so everything else is scouting. Maybe that is the build. I hope not. That's how they always make Raven Guard work. They're like, guys, you're gonna be so tactical and sneaky, and then they're just like, nah, fucking put 6 heavy infantry in your post deployment zone turn 1. every time they do that. That's so funny. And Cursor, Infiltrator, Eliminator, Reaver, and Victor. Plus, like, the random characters, right? Because there's 2 Phobos Lieutenant profiles, right? And then there's also the Captain, the Librarian, and some other stuff. Strike gives JPI Phobos as well. Oh, that's true, because he's Phobos keyworded. Oh, we're cooking, chat. Oh, shit, you're so right. He so does. Ooh. That's cool as fuck. Is it good? Probably not. Is it cool? Yeah. Do you put him into JPI or Vanguard? I have no idea. That's cool. So there is a Captain Phobos armor. He is dog shit, but there is a Phobos Captain. The Captain Phobos armor. Yeah, that's pretty cool, chat. I do like that. That's a good call out. That's a great call out. Does Aethon have Phobos? No. Get fucked. He's Tacticus armored. Okay. Okay, Aethon. All right, chat. Phobos Captain can lead scouts. Can he really? Is that true? I didn't know scouts had a leader. He can lead scouts. What the fuck? 100%. I think that's because they wanted people to still use their Sergeant Tellian model. 100%. That's the reason. That's so funny. I didn't know that. The Captain Phobos armor is total trash though. He gives you infantry redeploys. It's not even Phobos keyworded, so you can't do it on Invictor warships. It's infantry only. But he lets you put them in strat reserve, which is cool. I don't know what that does for you, but you can do it. It's allowed. The data sheet is terrible. Just trick your opponent. All right, chat. Should we talk about that? I'm a little up on Raven Guard. I think the Raven Guard are cool. Raven Guard were also like one of the more fringe playable detachments for the army. They have OC2 jump back assault intercessors as well. That's the other thing to keep in mind. Is that you're playing Kaven because Kaven's great, right? You're always going to play Shrike if you're playing Raven Guard. And Shrike gives all your jump back assault intercessors OC2. Phenomenal. What a time to be alive. Which is like makes them like some of the spiciest melee disruption pieces in the game. Because they're just like move 12 idiot who runs really fast. I'm a little less up on Imperial fists, but let's talk about it. So here's the Emperor's Shield. The chapter's most elite veterans. We know where this is going, chat. The Imperial Fist First Company are an indomitable fighting force. Uh-oh, First Company. Are you saying this is a First Company task force? Oh, no, chat. It is. And even worse than that, instead of getting a buff for taking your special character, the detachment is baseline worse and then goes back to where it was with regular First Company task force. Oh no. Oh, it starts out worse than one of the worst detachments in the game. We're starting strong, folks. Oh boy. So First Company Task Force, the naturally gives you wound rerolls when you target your Oath of Moment target. If you take Robude Gilliman, you get 2 Oaths of Moment targets, once per game. I guess actually that's not true. I guess this works permanently. It's not a once per game ability. So I'll take that back. This is not a straight downgrade from original First Company Task Force. This is largely a side grade. Because instead of getting a once per game reroll wounds against 2 things, you get an all game reroll wounds against 1 thing, which is all right because we're not taking Gilliman, right? Normally you would take Gilliman, you'd have 2 Oath targets, then you would pulse your thing and then blow them up. So I guess that's not too bad. That's better than I originally gave it credit for. However, we are still building off the worst attachment, or one of the worst attachments of the game. Might be the worst attachment of the game. I don't know. It's really bad. All right. Champion of the Feast is rewritten or renamed Imperium Sword, which is +1 attack, and once per game you can get an additional +1 attack on the whole unit. Disciple of the Rhetoricus is Rights of War renamed, I believe. Terminator only, you get +1 OC from the bearer. Once per game you can increase your the OC of your entire unit by 1. For whatever reason, it only lasts 1 phase, which is kind of annoying, but it is what it is. Just changes scoring for 1 turn. Indomitable Champion, a Terminator can regenerate himself. Now, this, I believe, this replaces Fear Made Manifest, which is unfortunate because that was one of the best enhancements in the detachment, which would give you whenever your opponent took battle shock checks, which was supposed to combo with the Assault Terminator charge ability, where you take battle shock check when you charge, and every time you failed, you destroy models from the unit, which was cool and fun. And if you found a bunch of ways to force battle shock checks on enemies, it was actually kind of good. However, we got rid of that. Instead, we got the Anvil Siege Force enhancement, where your dude comes back up on the battlefield. It's also Terminator only, so you can't do the thing where you put it on a Gravis Captain. So we can have 2 silly 2+ Terminator people being like funny guys, like in your opponent's backline, because Lysander's just gonna hang out, right? And he's gonna 2+ invul and save himself once per game, and then you also get a dude who's gonna regenerate himself once per game. So like maybe we do it on like a little Terminator, I don't know, librarian or something who's gonna be a utility guy, but I don't know. It depends on how expensive it is, honestly. And then Maladraxian Standard, I believe, it's basically a reworked Iron Resolve, which used to give field no pain to your unit. But now it just gives you Lysander's leadership ability. So Lysander gives you the -1 to wound if your strength is higher than your toughness. And so this just gives it to an entire unit. Oh, but it's ancient only. Yeah. Yuck. Although I think we could dual attach an ancient with a with I guess not Lysander, but with a captain maybe. Yeah, they can go next to captain, chapter master, or lieutenant models. I don't know why they can go next to lieutenant models. There are no Terminator lieutenants as far as I know, but we can attach him next to a standard captain if we also then put Dude Guy McGee in the Lysander in like the other unit or whatever. Yeah, but we don't. So like Lysander being a captain doesn't matter because he already gives you this ability. So having this enhancement in his unit does literally nothing. I guess it gives you -2 to wound if your strength characteristic is higher. So it defeats -1 to wound effects, which is certainly not worth including an ancient in your army. -1 to win on Blade Guard veterans could be cool. That's fair. Actually, that's probably pretty good. You could dual attach a Blade Guard agent, right? They all dual attach, but you can't do it with a Judiciar. I think it's captain only. So you'd have to captain, chapter master, or lieutenant. Yeah, so you'd have to find another way. You could gain. maybe that's legit actually, because you can stack the Blade Guard Ancients once per game +1 attack with Champion of the Feast. So you could give the entire unit +2 attacks. Which would actually be kind of cool. So you have like 6 attack Blade Guard veterans. Is that good? Probably not. Almost certainly not. But well, I don't know. Maybe it's fine. All right. We'll talk about strats. Some of these strats I think have been improved, which is good because the original versions were trash. So we have Armor of Contempt, pretty standard stuff. Fury of the First has been renamed from Legends of the Chapter and has been significantly improved. I very much like this version of the ability. You gain +1 to hit. That was the previous one. However, the previous version, Heroes of the Chapter from the First Company Task Force, in order to gain +1 it requires that your unit is below half strength. This one just requires that it's below starting strength, which means you've lost a single model. So, as long as you've only lost one dude, we can 1 CP +1 to hit and wound. That's great. Unironically, turns this stratagem from being mostly worthless dog shit to being actually pretty good, especially for big Terminator bricks, which is what we're trying to play, right? Because it's very common that you will lose 1 or 2 Terminators. It's very uncommon that you will lose 6 Terminators and still be in a position where you actually can get value from the unit. So losing 1 Terminator from like incidental shooting suddenly supercharges all their melee attacks. Phenomenal. Let's go. That's sick. We have replaced Legendary Fortitude, which I'm a little bit worried about because that stratagem was great, with Obdurate Vengeance, which is a 3+ fight on death for veteran units. It's all right. Fight on death is good, but it's not great. Like, we can't use this strat on them. Oh, I guess you could use it on a unit that's not been selected to shoot or fight. So you can use it first and then be targeted and then use the Vengeance and fight back. So, maybe. So, I don't know. I think the -1 damage feels better. It was -1 damage for 1 CP when your opponent charges you, which was, I think, kind of a really good. This is just a really good ability to have. But Fight on Death is okay. Yeah. I would probably just rather take less damage, but it is what it is. Wrathful Conquerors is a rewrite of Duty and Honor. You can obsec objectives with your veterans. This one's gonna throw people. This one always throws people when they have this timing on it. It's in your movement phase. However, you must have ended the command phase in control of the objective you use it on. Because you have to control the objective at the time you make the you use the strat. So if you don't control it at the end of your command phase, you don't recheck level of control on the objective until it comes to the end of the movement phase. Although I guess like nothing says you can't sequence this after. Although I don't think that's how that works, right? Because end of phase stuff I think it happens always at the end. That would surprise me if that got rolled otherwise. But I think generally speaking, you must have control of the objective with something, then move on to it with the Terminator squad. And the reason it's used in the movement phase is that you can have like a scout squad controlling the objective and then teleport a Terminator squad onto it and then obsec it. So it's just to alleviate the unit requirements of taking the objective. But that always throws people off. They think they can just move on to the objective and then obsec it. Fear of the First is also the regular Terminator ability. I hope they change it. Fuck, that ability sucks. +1 hit against the thing you're already full rerolling against. Cool, man. I appreciate that. Thank you. when you could take it in Space Wolves and you could wombo combo the like fire discipline combo on them, it actually was good. It was like it actually had value, but now you can't do that. There's no reason to like to have you're just rerolling. It's that the bonus like value is so infinitesimal. It doesn't make sense. But I hope they fit it. I hope they do like a Blightlord Terminator thing where they just give your guns like a just huge damage bump or something when they're near you. Disciplined Extermination is a rewrite of Terrifying Proficiency, I think, which was terrible and nobody used it, so who cares? Or it replaces Terrifying Proficiency, which is like you charged and destroyed a unit, then everyone took a battle shock check, but it was like at the end of the fight phase basically, so it didn't do anything. It was or it would force them to take a battle shock check in their opponent's next command phase. So I don't know. It was supposed to combo with the stratagem or the enhancement to get rid of models from units when you fail battle shock, but they don't do that anymore. So instead, what we're trying to buff Terminators, like gun Terminators, I guess. Ranged weapons gain ignore cover and improve armor penetration characteristic by 1. So we're trying to get regular Terminators to do damage. Ignore cover and +1 AP is getting there, but I don't know if it's quite there. We are also Codex compliant, so if we shoot at our Oath target, then we are getting +1 to wound. So Bolters wound on 5s. So if you could get all 10 Terminators within 12 inches of a target, you can shoot 40 AP1 ignore cover shots plus 2 or 4 AP3 ignore cover missiles that hit on 2s and real 1s. So it's like you probably hand your opponent somewhere around 12 bolter saves, and then like 2 to 3 missile saves. Is it good? It's much better than it was, but I think the requirement that you get 10 Terminators within 12 inches of your opponents is still very difficult. So is it worth taking gun Terminators for? I don't know. If we do this strat or this enhancement on gun Terminators, you can actually make them like fight pretty well. And I guess we could get them another source of +1 to wound, but we're most likely targeting our Oath target anyway if they take damage from Fury of the First. So I don't know. We're getting there. They're trying real hard. I guess you could also do like Pistol Vanguard Veterans and get +1 AP on their Flamers. It's kind of cute. Stargate Veterans largely don't need it unless they're shooting infantry because they are devastating against big stuff anyway. Stargate Veterans also have like weird anti-synergy with the detachment. I'm now just realizing because they already reroll wound rolls, so this ability doesn't do anything. That's funny. Well, they should have a cutout for Stargate Veterans where they get like, I don't know what else you could do. They're already +1 to wound, or they get +1 to hit. You get +1 to hit targeting their Earth target. There you go. We found a way. The one way they could buff their attacks or sustain hits one. That would be the other thing. It's a strat for Stargard? I don't know. Because Stargard are going to try to devastate you to death. So +1 AP and ignore cover largely don't matter. Again, unless you're shooting like a T4 enemy. But I don't know how often that matters. It's not that often that you shoot at an enemy that's toughness 4, like low toughness characteristic that you're not just wounding on 6s and fishing. That you like care that much about, where you don't think that like 36 shots are going to just straight up kill them. Double damage from devastating wounds? That might be too good. We might have gone back the other direction. Double damage. What if they just did twice as much damage? What if, chat? That'll be pretty good on Lysander's gun. So true. So true. Oh, man. All right. So I think the first time I read this, I did miss this ability. That this turned from being a once per game to being permanent. So I think I like this detachment quite a bit better than I did at the time. Oh shit. No, I misread it again. I'm back to feeling it's bad. This gives Lysander rerolls against your Oath of Moment target. It doesn't give your army rerolls. It gives only him rerolls. Fuck me. I thought this was way better than it was. Oh, I misread it twice in 2 different ways. It's not if you have a Darkness Lysander unit in your army, it's each time a model in your Darkness Lysander unit from your army makes an attack. Oh, chats. Oh, it's worse. Ugh. Dang it. I thought including Lysander would give you old Oath of Moment back. And I was like, I think this detachment might be okay. But it's literally only his unit. I guess you could put him in a standard Terminator squad. All right, so here's what they're trying to do. They're trying to make you play a regular Terminator squad and then give it ignore cover +1 AP and shoot the Oath target, right? So that one unit's going to do a lot of damage. The rest of the unit is not going to do as much damage. So that's why the Stern Guard veterans don't have it cut out, because they just have regular Oath now. So, like, is that like you're basically like the rest of your army gets reroll 1s against Oath? Okay, that's fine. That's like a thoroughly mediocre ability. Is this whole detachment worth one regular Terminator unit that wounds on 5s and rerolls? It's worse than if he just gave his unit twin linked. Yeah, because you can't use him independently. So you should 100% convert all of your shots, and you get +1 to wound, and then you pay a CP for ignore cover and stuff. So you're putting what? The 40 Stormbolter shots. The weird part is like Lysander doesn't even like have a gun, so you're attaching a melee character to a range unit, which is like, So it's 5s rerolling. You'll probably get 13 hits, rerolling another 27, so 9 more. 22 AP1 ignore cover, and then the missiles, which should full convert because they're on like 4s. Let's say 3 missiles go through. So you will blow one thing up, right? 22 AP1 ignore cover. If you don't have AOC, then you're on like 4s. So if you're shooting at a 3+ safe target, they take 11 from that, and the missiles kill them. But if you have AOC, it gets really bad. Or if your armor save is better. And you're just like dropping that in and like saying go. But you don't have any way to speed them up. So you can't make rapid ingress plays with this. Because we can't like assault. We can't advance and shoot with them. And if they're like a land raider or a Hecaton land fortress or something big and stompy, it's like not that great. This doesn't feel like this combo doesn't feel like it's worth the entire army. I guess we can up down them constantly, which is like kind of cute. Yeah, that's absolutely the intended play pattern. So we're supposed to oath something big, up be the Terminator brick, drop it, discipline extermination, shoot it and kill it, tank the incoming damage, up be again, and then do it again the next turn. The downside is if we're doing it on Lysander's unit, like this is the issue with this, we're being stuck to Lysander's unit. We can't captain any of these strats because Lysander is the captain for the unit. So we don't get any rights of battle free strats. What about he's on Blade? He can't go on Blade Guard veterans. He only goes on Terminators. Would it be better? Probably. If we put him into a less expensive, like less trash unit, yeah, for sure. I think this is mid. I like that there is a combo, but I don't like that it's only one, right? Like, I think your Terminators are gonna be spicy because of Fury of the First, like your melee Terminators. So I think like this isn't a bad Terminator detachment. It used to be that it was a fucking literally unplayable Terminator detachment. It's fucking horrible. I think this is a little bit worse. This is a little bit better. Because you can just be like rapid ingressing 10-man assault Terminator squads and running them at your opponent, and then being like, I'm +1 to hit and wound as soon as you damage me, as long as you don't kill me. And most things don't kill 40 wounds through a T5 and a 4+. Especially because you can get -1 to wound on them, which is kind of cool. Here's a question. If I use my if I don't use my teleport homer and I up a unit, can I use it again? You can set up a teleport homer unit. Yeah, so teleport homer is at the start of the battle. You can set up a teleport homer token for the unit anywhere on the battlefield. If you do, once per battle, you can target the unit with rapid ingress for 0. It doesn't require that your Terminators start in strat reserve, which is really interesting. So each of your Terminator units should be dropping a teleport homer token, regardless of whether or not they're in reserve. So if you up down them, because this strategic reserve effect doesn't require that you arrive the next turn, you could up down them and then hold them to strat reserve later, which is actually kind of cute. I don't think it's good because then you lose them for a round, but it's cute. I'm doing my best here, chat. Mm, 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 mm. Does Lysander still give Terminators OC2? He does. Yeah. So big Terminator bricks are good at stealing objectives for sure. Cut base, small change, boost on. Let's go home. Yeah. Yeah. I think it feels like what they really wanted to do with these um, was like pull back really hard on the power level. So they were like, guys, we can't have it so like these data sheet, like these what do you call them, things are too strong. um these sub factions are too strong, so like we have to make them, you know, sort of like mid, right? Like we make them side grades from the original version. This is much better than First Company Task Force, I will give it credit for. If especially if you're not playing Ultramarines. Ultramarines First Company Task Force is okay. It's not good, but it's like there's some play there. This is at least that power level, I think. Now that I understand how the abilities work, I think this is at least that power level. That means it's like wildly fringe playable though. I definitely don't think it's as competitive as the Raven Guard one. The Raven Guard one feels much more straightforward. And this one feels like you're gonna have some really powerful Terminator units, and the rest of your army's gonna suck. um. So yeah, I don't know. I think that's what I have to say about that. I don't know if I have anything else to say. I think that's what's up. If you're replacing Strat Reserve, are you able to heal or repair wounds? No. Not when Space Marines. Grey Knight Terminators can do that because they have apothecaries embedded in the unit. But Space Marines don't have that. Space Marines don't get that. They're sad. They're sad. So I think I don't know. I'm thoroughly lukewarm on these releases. Aethon Shaan has some cool stuff going on. He's like, his profile's good. He just like has good numbers, but his ability is like weirdly anti-synergistic, which is bizarre. And the fact that he debuffs your Kaven Shrike blows my fucking mind. I don't really understand. I think they were like, it feels like they were like, well, guys, we're only allowed to have a certain number of lone operative characters in Space Marines. The cap is 3. You can have 3 lone operatives at any one time. Once you get to the 4th one, it's no good, which is a little bit strange. Lysander got a huge glow up. His new abilities are great. And he was already like honestly just a good character. Like if you were playing Imperial Fist, you just play Lysander because his numbers are good. And honestly, you'll probably still play Tor Garradon, because the Imperial Fist characters are just solid. So, and he didn't even get any strat changes anyway. But he gives you ignore cover on a unit, and then also he like absolutely mangles monstrous vehicles. He himself is like an absolute slaughterhouse when it comes to big stuff. So, you might just take him with like a little Eradicator squad and he runs around. Could be good. I don't know. So, but yeah, the Imperial Fist Detachment seems okay. It's definitely an improvement on First Company's task force, but I was hoping for something a little spicier for sure. It definitely feels like it's a little bit of a whatever of a drop here.
Ryan G donated $5 through Super Chat. We going to talk about Votan? If so, I think Barry needs to go down. Right now, as he's an epic hero, I don't see why you don't take 5 berserks over him.
We will talk about Votan in the next stream. So I have a stream we talked about yesterday. I have a stream event live that's going live later. I have some recording and some stuff I have to do before that, so it might get pushed back. But I'm not going to do it here because this is the Space Marine stream. That was originally scheduled for 2 p.m. We might push it to like 3-ish, depending on how my recording goes, and then we'll go from there. Shrike is still pretty good. Yeah. Shrike is still going to be solid for sure. Shocked that Aethon Shed doesn't have fight first. Yeah, fight first would have made sense because then you could play it much more aggressively. He could like hide behind a wall and be unshootable, and then like your opponent has a tough time profitably interacting with him. That would be great. The free heroic intervention on a 5-wound dude though is like very funny because a lot of times people just die. Intervene in, let's go. Just like fucking clocks your chapter master in the face and he's dead. Sick. All right, chat. That's gonna be it for me today. That's not true. It's gonna be it for me right now. I will be live in a little bit, talking about some Leagues of Votan stuff, and I will be live tonight talking about what am I talking about? I'm playing Salamanders. I'm playing Salamanders tonight against Imperial Knights. We'll see if I can win. It's gonna be, I think, an uphill battle. I built that army to play Imperial Knights, but I think my opponent has like a really weird non-standard build. And it might actually prove to be good against me. So we'll find out, I guess. So with that, folks, that's gonna be it. I'll see you in the next one. Keep it classy, folks. If you have wargaming, and I will see you in a bit. Cheers. Oh, let me redirect you. Let me redirect you to the Votan thing. We're talking about Votan in a couple hours, so come hang out with me for that. Cheers, everyone.